ワンピースは実在する。
俺はモンキー・ディ・ルフィ。お前らを超えて海賊王になる男だ。
人の夢は終わらねえ。
Welcome
to Nerdville.
You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Hello there everyone, I'm Fanfi.
I'm Turtles.
Oda has fooled us yet again. Everyone was wrong.
Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong.
Dory and Broggy have arrived to rescue the savior of their people, the Sun God, as well as seeing that Bonnie has become one of the biggest threats to the world government. And because of the power of the Drums of Liberation, the dynamic of this battlefield is about to change.
The cover page this week comes back to what we've seen Oda do recently. Pair a character with an animal that would make sense for them. Here it's Robin with a crocodile, who obviously makes sense since she spent time a lot with crocodile. Also, the sailor getup, as well as the logo, is an obvious reference to Lacoste, a French clothing line.
By the way, thanks everyone for helping us reach 200 subs. If you haven't become a citizen of Nerdville yet, how about joining our community and subscribing to enjoy more One Piece theories and reviews? The chapter leads off where it ended the last time, where we see a ship arriving on Egghead. From the intro, you know who it is. We see a scene of Luffy recuperating by eating, as the Marines finally decide to try and arrest him. This scene is quite hilarious, not just because they wonder how he is human, able to digest so much food, but because they have been trying to arrest him unsuccessfully for the past few chapters. Come on guys, I know he's a Yonko, but every moment before now would have been just much better to capture him, since obviously Luffy manages to power up back to Gear 5. While the Buster Crawl continues to rain down on Egghead, we cut to the scene of Kuma and Co suspended in the air. While the pacifistas have marked them for execution, Saturn tells them to finish off this pathetic family. Saturn is very determined as he says this, which makes sense given the fact that he is the one who orchestrated Kuma's entire misfortune. However, Vegapunk has betrayed the world government once again. It is revealed that Bonnie is the person with the highest authority for controlling the pacifistas, even higher than the Gorosei themselves. This is extremely touching since Vegapunk didn't want Bonnie or Kuma to ever have to fight against one another, which is in contrast to what he himself told Kuma in chapter 1101, where he informed him that his state after the cyborgification would be one of complete obedience, and that if the world government ordered him to kill a child, he would do it. Throughout the Kuma backstory, and frankly through Egghead as well, we were questioning Stella's morality quite a bit, given how careless and naive he is about the dangerous applications of his technology. Also, the fact that he sold his soul to the devil in a way by working with the world government. But in the last few chapters, with the reveal that he couldn't make Kuma into a bomb, and he's doing everything he can to not damage Kuma and Bonnie's father-daughter relationship, we see that Vegapunk is actually a really good guy.
Because of the pacifistas switching sides, this turns the tide immediately, where they start firing at the warships. Vegapunk obviously knew that this would seal his fate and completely ruin the soldier project at the same time, until Bonnie is captured or killed. This leads us to our next point. Because of the true pacifista command hierarchy, Bonnie has become one of the biggest threats to the world government. For instance, if Bonnie decides to join the Straw Hats Grand Fleet or the revolutionaries like her mom and dad, it would instantly increase the party's forces by quite a large amount. Not all pacifistas are deployed on this island, but whenever Bonnie would encounter any pacifista that shares Kuma's appearance, including Esper, it would immediately join her side. This makes the Bonnie Pirates a formidable force in the One Piece world. After this arc has concluded, if Bonnie survives, we can expect a drastic increase in her bounty. The only crew member missing in the crew is a cabin boy. At the time, we all thought that it would be Momo, but Bonnie makes a lot of sense because of how her father raised her. Kuma emulated Nika the best he could and passed down his will to Bonnie. We know that characters in One Piece inherit the will of their role model, like Ace with Whitebeard or Kobe with Garp. So it would be logical that Bonnie would inherit Kuma's, which would lead her to cry her way onto the crew.
Another alternative would be her joining the revolutionaries and joining Luffy's efforts at the end of the story, since she would be following in her parents' footsteps. Bonnie has only ever wanted to do exactly what her dad did. She only became a pirate because her dad was one. However, we know through his backstory that Kuma reluctantly became a pirate while searching for a cure for Bonnie, and being wrongfully accused of being a criminal. What he truly wanted was to return to the revolutionaries, which Bonnie knows since she observed his memories. Because of Vegapunk's betrayal, Saturn understandably attempts to execute him by stabbing him through the stomach. This is another reference to Ace's execution, since it will give Bonnie even more motivation than she already had to take vengeance against Saturn and avenge the man who saved her twice. Saturn immediately orders Kizaru to eliminate them all. He proceeds to shoot a... Here, Kizaru has strategically incapacitated anyone who could stand in his way, as he moves towards Kuma and Bonnie, letting them know that they will die together in a painless manner. We kept seeing in this backstory that Kizaru was a bit conflicted, or at least emotional about having to execute his friends. However, his duty towards the world government is more important than his personal feelings.
Luffy, laughing maniacally, interrupts Kizaru's assassination attempt once again, knocking Kizaru into a nearby building. While Bonnie notices Luffy's rubbery fist retreating, Luffy mentioned that he's back at full strength, adding, "Let's have some fun." While this might seem like a W for Luffy, it seems like Kizaru has taken this hit fairly easily, where it looks like he's just holding his forehead, sighing, "Why do I have to deal with this guy? I just need to do my job." All joking aside, Kizaru does seem to have taken some damage from this, but overall doesn't look like he's off the board, which is unsurprising given how formidable he has been in this arc. Luffy is definitely back at full power, since we can see the Drum of Liberations have awoken, where it is shaking the entire island as mentioned by the Marines. This is felt by the giant Robot of Dreams himself, where we see him not only start powering up, but move as well. If you're unsure as to the correlation between the Drums of Liberation and the giant Robot of Dreams, we had discussed this previously in chapter 1092, where it seems very likely that Luffy confronting Kizaru in Gear 5 is what awakened the giant Robot of Dreams.
What do you mean by that?
How, you ask? Well, Vegapunk had stated in chapter 1067 that he did not know what powered this machine, and has been trying to replicate it since it seemed like an infinite energy source. We believe that this energy source is actually Haki itself. We have seen this multiple times in the story, that objects themselves have a will of their own. This is very clearly shown with swordsmen and their swords, where each sword seems to choose their wielders and have different temperaments, like we saw with Enma and Sandai Kitetsu. This is not only shown with weapons, such as the living sword Funkfried is a sword that somehow ate a devil fruit, but other objects like our very own Going Merry, who is not only able to sail the Straw Hats to safety after being damaged beyond repair, but also manifested itself in a spirit form. It is largely theorized that the Merry was able to manifest because of the wishes, haki, and desires of the collective crew. The larger point is that haki seems to be an energy force created from people's desire, that can give inanimate objects life. This also links to what Vegapunk said in chapter 1069, that devil fruits were people's desires made manifest. Perhaps 800 years ago, this robot was created by Joy Boy and his Nakama, and this is why he seems to be reacting to Luffy's haki, much like Zunisha did when Luffy first awakened Gear 5. But we discussed in our 1092 review that this giant will no doubt be the only means of escape, because the Vegaforce 1 has been destroyed. Since it was modeled after the giant robot, it stands to reason that it would serve as a substitute in their escape plan.
The robot was not the only one who heard the drums. Bonnie heard them as well. As we alluded in our chapter 1101 discussion video, it seems quite clear that Bonnie had not yet understood that Luffy was Nika during their time together on Egghead. And the only way for her to understand would be to hear the beat of the drums that she used to dance to with her father. As Bonnie starts to piece it together, Vegapunk notices that Bonnie is still confused, since after all, she is still a child, and explains that Luffy is the sun god Nika, and that her father was right. He adds that the Buster Call should be nothing for Nika, and that people all over the world have been waiting hundreds of years for his arrival. This connects with the end of the chapter, where the people who worship Nika are on their way. We are told that the people that had saved the researchers fleeing Egghead Island in the previous chapter was none other than Dory and Brogy themselves. This does not mean that the Blackbeard pirates are not on their way or hiding somewhere until the heat dies down, since their ship was clearly near the island in chapter 1079. We have seen this pair very recently, with them being responsible for the destruction of Kate's pirate ship. But if you forgot, we have seen these characters previously in the story, in the Little Garden arc, where they were dueling each other for an eternity, until they met the Straw Hats. They arrive on the scene by destroying the mast of all the ships in front of them, ensuring that the Marines won't be able to pursue the Straw Hats. Vegapunk stated that Nika is beloved and worshipped by many, including the giants. We saw in the Big Mom backstory that the giants worship the sun, thanking it after their meals. They also celebrate the winter solstice, where they worship the death of the sun and its resurrection. This is quite ironic and descriptive of how Luffy's Gear 5 works, where it was introduced when Luffy had allegedly died and was resurrected, and how he's completely drained after using this form for an extended period of time, and feels reborn when he's back at full strength.
It seems fairly clear that Dory and Broggy heard about the Egghead situation on Elbaf, through the Shanks pirates most likely, but the fact that they call Nika the Sun God insinuates that Shanks told them about Luffy's fruit. Since, as Kuma said in chapter 1101, no one knows what Nika looked like. It is quite possible that the Buccaneers are an offshoot of the Giants race, given their size and durability. This could also explain how they know about Nika, since this could have been a tale passed down to the Giants race. The link between Nika and the Giants race goes deeper than that, since in chapter 906 we saw Imu in the hidden chamber, observing a giant straw hat. It is a common theory that Nika, or at least the previous wielder of the fruit, Joy Boy, was also a giant. This could tell us why the Giants worship Nika so much, and why Elbaf will be such an important arc, shedding a lot of light on the mystery that is Nika. Thanks for watching, everyone. This was our review of chapter 1106 of One Piece. Hope you enjoyed. Here's a question for you all. Given Dory and Broggy's sudden reappearance in the narrative of the Straw Hats, do you believe that they will be their guide to their next island, being Elbaf? Or that they are just here to ensure the Straw Hats can escape, while the giant robot guides them to their next destination? Keeping Elbaf for the arc after the next island? Leave a comment and a like and let us know.
Speaking of giant robots, if you want to learn more about how it is linked to the Drums of Liberation, check out our 1092 chapter review. See you next time.
Peace out!